Hey everyone, welcome to Recipe Wednesday, where you come along and cook with me and I share a new recipe a week.
Hey everyone, I'm going to be making chili today. I'm going to take you guys along with me. When I make chili, I like to add some hidden veggies. So I'm going to be cutting up a green pepper and adding some carrots to my chili, along with onions and all the spices. And I'm going to show you guys what I do.
Of course, every time I go ahead and record, the kids start getting loud. So I'm going to do some voiceover now. So here's all the spices. I don't use a seasoning packet. For my chili, I like to do all the spices myself. So that's the line of spices, then the tomato sauces, and all that. So with this chili, it definitely requires a little bit of prep work and it is a little time consuming, but the outcome is, wunderbar, amazing, love it. So for all my chili, I always like to hide veggies. Wherever I can hide veggies, I hide veggies. So chili is a perfect one. And surprisingly, the kids actually eat the chili. So they're pretty picky on a lot of things. So since they eat it, I try to add some extra stuff in there. So first off, I'm doing a green pepper. I'm adding some carrots in there as well. I chop them all up nice and finely. And I'm going to go ahead and put them in my pan to start getting softened a little bit. Guys, I am not a cook. I am not a professional cook. I'm not even a fan of cooking. So I am just taking you guys along from someone who's not a fan of cooking and just showing you guys the recipes that I like making and that are pretty easy and still yummy. Anyways, with that being said, I was just showing you guys where to cut off the onion. Then the other side, you do not want to bring your knife all the way to the other side. You want to do slices and then go the other way. And see how I'm not going all the way to the other side. I stop right there. And then you go the other way and you have perfectly diced onions. And I'm not crying because when you get to the other side of the onion, if you go all the way through, that's what releases whatever it releases to make you cry. So that's why you don't want to go all the way through. So yes, you're wasting a little bit of onion, but it saves you the tears. So I like it. And it's worth losing a little bit of onion. So I went ahead and did that as well. That's the part that you're not cutting into and what you're wasting, I guess, essentially. Now that I have my green pepper, onions, and carrots in here, I'm just going to let this cook on low to medium heat just to get this softened. And then when that starts getting a little softened, I'm going to actually add all my spices in already. I will also link where I got this recipe from and who I'm following and all the ingredients for this. But while they're getting softened, I'm going to go ahead and add the spices. So I do 1.5 tablespoons of chili powder. I do 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. I do 1.5 tablespoons of cumin, half a tablespoon of paprika, a half a teaspoon of chipotle powder, and half a teaspoon of white pepper or regular pepper. And then I do a pinch of cayenne pepper. And then I do salt. Probably, I don't know, like 3 teaspoons of salt, something like that. So I will, again, share the recipe. I just use the salt shaker, so I just kind of shake that in. But I will link the recipe below of what I use and all the ingredients for it because it is quite a few spices, and this is for 1 pound of meat. So I let all those spices get mixed in really well. Again, you really want to make sure that your pepper and your onions and your carrots are pretty soft before adding the seasonings. Or if you add them, you want to just make sure they get soft before you start adding your meat in there. My family is not a big fan of like a crispy texture in chili. But if you like that, go for it. But we're just not a fan of that. So I like to make sure those are pretty soft before adding our meat in there. And if you like it more spicy, you can always add more cayenne pepper in there. We're just not, with the kids, they just don't like it really spicy, so we don't add a lot of that pepper. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and dump a full can of diced tomatoes in there. I use the fire roasted. I find them to be really delicious. So I do that. I do half a can of tomato sauce, and I also do half a can of tomato paste. So that's all going to go in here. I'm going to let this simmer for 15 minutes. Sorry, also a can of drained kidney beans go in here as well. And let this all get really well blended in and kind of just get all those tastes together. Again, I am not a cook, so I have no idea the terminology for that, but, make it all yumminess by letting it all sit there. I realized I didn't even mix the tomato paste in there yet. It's just sitting there, but I completely forgot about the cornbread. I wanted to start that, so my son was helping me do that, and I wanted to pop that in the oven. This is just a box that we use, really yummy, and I love having that as a side for the cornbread, for the chili. So I just went ahead and popped that in the oven as well. So here you go. So now this has been sitting for 15 minutes. The recipe says if you want it to be a little less acidic-y, then to add a teaspoon of baking soda, which we do. And for some reason, it just turns out so good. So we did that. While this is sitting and simmering and getting all goodness flavoring in there, I went ahead and made a little dip for the cornbread. My husband and I like doing butter and maple syrup with a little bit of sea salt in there. Really yummy to dip in besides the chili. So I went ahead and made that. And now I'm just making the bowls up. So I like to use plain Greek yogurt. I like to mix that in with the chili. I also use that for tacos. Just a little healthier than sour cream, but it's the same thing as using sour cream. I mix that in and it makes it a little less spicy for the kids. Lastly, cut up your cornbread and you got yourself a delicious meal. You can either serve the chili with some sour cream or, like I do, plain Greek yogurt and top it off with some cheese. Let me know if you tried this meal. I would love to hear if you liked it or not.